Let's learn how to complete the writing process so that you can send successful messages. You may have already watched my lesson on creating, which is the first step of the writing process. This lesson is on the last two steps, composing and correcting. Here are your business communication targets for this lesson. First, compose your document in one sitting. Second, correct your document to send a clear, compelling message. The first step in the writing process is to create. The second step is to compose. This step is not easy, but it should be a fairly simple one. Now, how can I say that? Well, have you ever had the experience of drafting a document that you feel good about without taking a single break? It is possible. Try composing your document in one sitting. Good writers often compose a document in one sitting because they take care of some tasks during the first stage of creating or leave certain tasks for the last stage of correcting. That's why the composing step should be fairly simple, even if it's not easy. Now, this assumes that you have taken care of the first step of creating quite thoroughly. That is, if you have brainstormed to cover every relevant issue, researched enough, and outlined your document, then composing is simply a matter of putting words on paper or on a computer screen. Now, there are also some tasks that you can delay until the final step of correcting. During the composing stage, some writers deliberately avoid looking up a word in a dictionary, checking their grammar, or asking a colleague to evaluate what they have written so far, because they know that they will be able to take these steps during that last stage. That third and last step of the writing process is to correct. This last step will probably involve checking your spelling and grammar, but it actually includes a lot more. To correct your work, evaluate it on a broader level. Try to look at your document from your recipient's perspective. In fact, it's a very good idea to get another perspective. Perhaps a coworker can review your document and give you feedback. Correcting may include adding, deleting, substituting, and rearranging your content. You might start with something as large as adding a paragraph or a page and move toward smaller matters like changing a good word for a great one. In a letter to George Bainton, Mark Twain said, "The difference between the almost right word and the right word is really a large matter. It's the difference between the lightning bug and the lightning." After doing all of your adding, deleting, substituting, and rearranging, go through your document again to check for format, spelling, grammar, and punctuation. For your format, be sure to follow your organization's standard if it has one. If your organization does not, consult a trusted writing source such as the Gregg Reference Manual or the Chicago Manual of Style. By all means, use the spell checker in your word processor, but be careful about relying on it for grammar and punctuation. It is true that your computer can be remarkably perceptive in identifying certain kinds of grammar and punctuation errors, but it can lead you astray for some decisions that really do require you to use your discernment, or at least to consult a respectable style manual. The correction step may take even longer than the composing step, but the correction step is vital for preparing a well-polished document that you can feel good about. I'd like to leave you with a couple of tips for the writing process in general. First, how to distribute your time. It may seem somewhat artificial to prescribe a certain length of time for each of the three steps, but if you are under pressure to get a document written, you might plan to spend 1/3 of your entire document writing time on each of the three steps. So if you have 1 hour, take 20 minutes to create, 20 minutes to compose, and 20 minutes to correct. Second, be sure to give yourself some flexibility in the process. The usual order is to create before you compose and to compose before you correct. But some writers like to create and compose a certain section of the document before they create and compose another section of the document. You can even alternate within a step. For example, the usual order within the creating step is to brainstorm and research before you outline. But your style may be to do enough research to get a rough outline going, and then to do the rest of your research before you complete your outline. Whatever you do, it is important to have a plan. If you have a tendency to procrastinate, a plan will help you take that first step. The ancient Roman poet Horace said, "He who has begun has half done." In other words, if you have started the project, then maybe half of the effort is already over. Now, if you are the opposite, if you are more compulsive, or if you have a tendency to click send too quickly, then this strategy is for you too. With a plan for the writing process, whatever kind of person you are, you can have the confidence to create, a strategy to compose, and the tools to correct.